So in a very real way, you could say humans on the planet these days are kind of one population. You're capable of interbreeding with somebody from across the planet. You know, you could go anywhere. We travel the globe. Animal species are not quite as mobile as we are. So, you know, one of the yeah.
So, like a human, this is like a weird question.
Okay, go for it.
Human breed with like an animal?
Nope. Nope. Different numbers of chromosomes. When we talk about reproduction, we'll talk about why that's not possible. So, in order to have a baby together, to have offspring together, two individuals have to have the same number of chromosomes. Yeah. So anyway, we're going to talk about populations, and we have to be able to measure them. One of the first things we tend to think about with populations is size. And that's the one everybody jumped to when we started talking about population. You know, what's population? Well, it's how many? No, that's population size. A population is the group. Population size is how many there are. Density is the other measure that we use. And dispersion is a measure that we use. And they're all related in some ways, but they're slightly different. So we'll be doing some activities that get at how to look at those. Did you all have those? Did everybody have the last slide? Okay. Okay. So population size, this is the thing that everybody jumps to when we start talking about populations. And it's how many individuals there are in the population. And we sometimes kind of use just the word population as a shortcut for this, but there's a difference. The number of individuals. Actual populations are tough to count. They're very tough. So, how do you count a bunch of wild horses in the Rocky Mountains? You can tag them. Can you count every single horse? Probably not. They roam tremendously large areas, very mobile, very widespread. You know, to us, a lot of horses look a lot alike. And, you know, you might count one horse 3 times and one horse not at all. It's tough. How do you count bacteria, for Pete's sake? Huh? I can't hear you. Well, you can't. There are a whole bunch of them. You can't count every bacteria, but you can get an estimate of how many bacteria are in a stream or a water system or a pool, a swimming pool. Who here has ever been to a public swimming pool? Okay. Do you know that they have to do bacterial sampling in the public swimming pools? I mean, you're getting into a big pool of water. Great place to spread germs around. And so, I mean, they chlorinate it to kill them, but they have to sample their water to see if there are bacteria there and to get a count of how many. There are bacteria that can survive chlorine. You know, you can't chlorinate to the point, if you chlorinated it to the point where no bacteria can survive, you couldn't swim in it. You would not want to swim in it. So they have to do sampling. When I worked as a watershed coordinator, we used to do stream sampling. So I had a bunch of volunteers who'd go out once a month and they'd take a sample out of a bunch of different creeks and we would bring it back and we had a lab we worked with and they would help us to get an estimate of how much bacteria was in the creek. Mostly fecal bacteria. What does fecal mean? Poop! Yep, feces, poop. Fecal bacteria are bacteria that came from feces. And a lot of streams have a lot of fecal bacteria, both from failing septic systems and from things like livestock runoff. Cows are great. If the cows can get into a stream, they will poop in it. You know, they'll walk through poop and then walk in the stream. So, yeah, it's everywhere. It's okay, up to a point. So we've got problems with counting population size, but there are ways around that. There are ways around that, and that is sampling the population. So, whoa, we're going to try something. Okay. Could you count everybody in the study hall and the cafeteria first period? Yeah, you could. Would it take a while? Yeah. Are people moving around? Might there be somebody who's in getting their breakfast, and then they come back, and then, you know, blah, 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 blah. So, could you devise a way, without counting every individual person, to figure out how many students there are? Okay, what about if you can't ask the teacher? What about the tables? Okay, see how many are sitting at a table?
How many tables are there, like, filled, like, with people?
Okay.
You don't get just.
Okay, so I'm gonna write down what you just said. So count. So you're saying count number of tables, and then what? So are you going to count the people at all the tables?
Or just average it out.
How would you average it out?
Tables out. Whatever the answer is.
Okay, no, be more clear, because you've got good ideas.
Size of the table.
Okay.
Say it's like the big round table, say 10.
Okay.
And then the little block tables equals say 6 people or 4.
Okay, estimate shape and size of table. Estimate number of students per table. Then what? How does this get us a number of students? Okay. Who wants to add to that? Who wants to add to that? We're actually going to go try this. Huh? I'll tell you what. Here's such a deal I got for you. I'm going to give you and a partner 10 minutes. We're going to talk about it first. You're going to get 10 minutes to devise a strategy to estimate the number of students in that study hall. Okay? I will set a timer. When I call time's up, that's it. You got to show me a number. If everybody comes up with a reasonable estimate, you know, everybody sort of does what they're supposed to, yes, I will let you get breakfast. So, you and one partner. So let's talk a little bit more about this. So Robbie started an idea. Kevin, what do you think?
Ask the lunch lady how many people got breakfast in the class.
You can't ask anybody. You have to. So if we were counting like wild horse population, can you ask the wild horses, hey, buddy, how many of you are there? So you can't ask anybody anything. You have to devise a strategy, and you can't count everybody. So I'm going to give you like 7 minutes or something.
Just count how many people were at like 4 tables and then divide the number by 4 to get like an average and then multiply by how many tables are there.
Okay, so you're saying pick some number of tables, count how many people are at those tables, get an average number of people per table, and then do a quick count of how many tables have people at them. Okay? Anybody else? The pair that are closest to the true number get to go to breakfast first.
Do you know the true number?
I'm gonna ask Mrs. Hopple. Because how else will I confirm how many there actually are? No, everybody will get breakfast, but the ones who are the closest go first.
There's going to be a difference from the class that's actually there to study hall and the people who are down there for breakfast.
Well, just the number who are. Oh, that's true.
We don't know who's in study hall. We don't know who's in breakfast.
I'll figure out a way to.
The people from gym go to breakfast too.
Okay, I'll figure out something. Okay, take your iPads because you're going to record this, and We don't have much time. That's a fantastic idea. There is actually, again, when I did watershed work, there's something called a habitat index. So sometimes you can't count all the bugs and fish in a stream. You can't count all the members of all the populations in a stream. But you can assess the habitat. And if you assess the habitat, you can say, okay, you know, we've got fantastic habitat. We should have a good population. And that's exactly what you're talking about is we call that using a proxy. Okay, so proxy is P-R-O-X-Y. And when we do something by proxy, we say, well, this represents that. So if we count the chairs and we assume that most of the chairs are full, then we are using a proxy for getting a number of people. If we go out to a stream and we assess the habitat, we see how good the habitat is, we're using that as a proxy for sampling the biology. Does that make sense? Okay. You will have, tell you what, there will be an understanding check quiz, so it's not really a recall quiz, it's an understanding check. It'll be online by 4th period. You are responsible for taking that today at school. You can find 5... take it before the end of the day.
I was just saying I have to.
No, take it before the end of the day. It'll be up by 4th period because I've got a free spot 3rd period. So it'll be up by 4th period. You have to take it by the end of the day. If you do not take it by the end of the day, it will be a 0. Because you're all here, I'm looking at you all. Couple questions just to check your understanding of sampling populations. So, okay, questions.